on a special edition of Full Force Nature. Put on your hard hat as we take a trip through Tornado Alley. We start with an F4 tornado that one man follows as it spins its destructive path through his hometown. Then, residents in Salt Lake City can't believe their eyes when a rare twister ravages their peaceful downtown. Next, a cool autumn day in Iowa is turned on its side when a tornado rolls through one man's yard.
Oh my God!
A powerful storm weaves its way through a quiet Kansas community and erupts with a cloud of debris. And see a monster storm in South Dakota wipe a town's dreams away in the blink of an eye. Extreme weather, told by the people who survived. Right now, on Full Force Nature. Tornadoes present a mystery to mankind. They're hard to predict, horribly destructive, yet they grab our attention and refuse to let go. On a July afternoon in the small central Illinois town of Roanoke, a storm is brewing. Jeremy Hodel is home with his sister and nephews when he looks out the window and sees a massive tornado on the horizon. And it's heading their way.
Ran into the house, grabbed the camera, ran out on the front porch, just in time to see the cloud spinning around.
Oh my goodness, it's down. It just touched down. Starting to scare me. That is huge. Yeah, look at that debris. That's all debris right there.
Jeremy's young nephew panics at the awesome sight.
Get out of here! What is it going to do?
It looked like it was getting smaller. I think it's big again. Should we leave or go in the basement?
Convinced the tornado could threaten their home, Jeremy loads his sister and nephews into the car to get out of harm's way.
That's the hugest one I ever seen. That's the hugest tornado I ever seen.
I'd say just go south.
Get the heck out of the way, that's all.
Meanwhile, a few miles away, Joshua Sauter has friends over when they too see the tornado.
I immediately, after I saw the tornado, grabbed my video camera and ran outside to the car. I realized my few other friends were still in the house. They yelled back at me, "You're crazy. We're going to the basement." Dang, I gotta get out from behind the corn here. This is bad. It's kind of dangerous, but I like doing this.
As Joshua comes closer to the storm, he passes a friend's home and can only hope for the best.
There's the Wiegand's house. It's in their backyard, pretty much. Wow. I'm way too close. We got debris flying everywhere. Look at this.
Debris litters the sky in a swirling cloud of destruction. Joshua pulls into a church parking lot for refuge.
Wow. Look at that. Step out of here. I want to see what it hears like. Sounds like. Wow. That's unreal. The tornado kind of sounded like a train when I opened the door. I had to pull really hard, and it took about all I had to get it shut. I can't really pull the door closed. Baby, look at that. Wow. That's so amazing. I bet it's just tearing through that cornfield, too. Right over the top of Wiegand's house.
Finally, 20 minutes later, the tornado dies out. In its wake is nearly 10 miles of devastation. Fortunately, the tornado missed both Joshua and Jeremy's homes, but not everyone in the community was so lucky.
There's a school bus that got overturned. There was a car in the middle of one of our fields, along with tons of sheet metal, wood, insulation, wrapped around trees, you name it. Yeah, it was quite a sight. Never seen anything like it.
Even a field of corn is an amazing sight to behold.
I think it's pretty obvious here what the tornado went through. Ripped all the leaves off, tassels are gone, just a stalk.
Most devastated was the Parsons manufacturing plant. It took a direct hit from the F4 tornado. The plant is destroyed. Cars from the parking lot are mangled and thrown about.
Seriously, you just gotta be here to appreciate the magnitude of all this twisted mess of steel. Can't imagine this is a beautiful facility just 2 days ago.
Joshua and Jeremy stood toe-to-toe with a tornado and learned an important lesson about nature.
I think chasing a tornado is definitely not the smartest thing I've ever done.
When you're watching something that just amazing, you see all the power, wind speed, just it makes you feel really small.
Though the vast majority of tornadoes in the world form in an area of the Midwest called Tornado Alley, twisters can happen almost anywhere. A cloudy morning in Salt Lake City, Utah takes an eerie turn as noontime approaches on a summer day.
Normal patterns of weather during that time of the year that we have an occasional thunderstorm and showers, but this, you can see the clouds just kind of keep building and building and building.
Lieutenant Phil Kirk was filling in a shift with the Salt Lake City Police when he received reports of a dark funnel cloud in the sky.
I was in shock. My first reaction, I was in shock seeing this tornado come. I hadn't seen one in my entire life. Never heard of one in the Salt Lake area.
But Lieutenant Kirk's amazement quickly turns to terror as the twister heads straight for downtown.
We really had no idea that we were going to have a tornado come right through the middle of, in the heart of Salt Lake City.
Transformers and power lines are ripped apart, sending blinding flashes of light from the downtown area.
Oh my God!
From the top of a nearby building, a local weather reporter is exposed to the deadly winds up close.
Oh my God! It's right across the street from this. I can't breathe!
The tornado ravages the Delta Center, tearing a portion of the roof. But now, the tornado is heading for a large tent area set up next door.
We had some very portable type of setup with the outdoor retailers that were in town for their big conference convention.
From a nearby hillside, debris from the tents can be seen swirling hundreds of feet in the air. In just over 10 minutes, the twister dies out. On the ground, rescue units rush to the scene to lend aid. And what they find is destruction on a scale Salt Lake City has never experienced.
Watch out, guys! Let's go! We got more people coming through! Let's go!
I saw a lot of people that seemed to be in a state of panic.
Cars are crushed and mangled. Small pieces of otherwise harmless debris have smashed through windshields. Windows have been blown out of several downtown buildings. But luckily, at the retailers' convention, there are few injuries.
We were fortunate that it hit at the time it did because most people, again, were not in the tents. They were out eating lunch, including the people that operated the big convention, and so it could have been a lot worse than it was.
Though the tornado was only rated an F2, it still packed winds estimated up to 157 miles per hour. And its disastrous path through the heart of Salt Lake City tragically claimed one life and created hundreds of millions of dollars in damage. Coming up next, a tornado is caught on tape as it barrels through one man's neighborhood. Then, a man survives a violent twister that destroys his home and rips him from the door of his shelter when we come back with this special Twister edition of Full Force Nature. Welcome back to this special edition of Full Force Nature. It's hard to forecast when a twister will strike, and even harder to predict where. But But for Jeremiah Nance of Woodward, Iowa, these storms have become a way of life.
I love weather. Ever since I was about 4, when I lived through my first tornado.
Then, one Saturday afternoon in November, the Nance family is at home when they hear something outside that sounds like a train.
You could just tell the wind turned to a like a howl from the depths of hell. And that's when we decided we better go outside and start looking.
From his front yard, Nance captures a tornado approaching fast.
Oh my God!
I witnessed it just completely annihilating everything. That's where my excitement and the thrill of it left, and I instantly went to panic and worry about the town.
Oh my God! That's it! Get over here! My big dog! Oh my God! Look at the house is gone!
Jeremiah and his family rush up the street to lend a hand to neighbors. They can't believe what they find. A woman is trapped in her home and is pulled to safety through a window. In disbelief, she is comforted by a friend.
Oh my Jesus Lord! Is there anybody else down here? Everybody accounted for?
The storm system spun off at least 8 tornadoes without mercy.
It leveled some houses, pretty much destroyed the whole city block, and destroyed another block and a half on the other side of town.
The twisters cut destructive swaths through the state and kill a woman in another town, leaving little doubt that people in Iowa will remember November 2005 as a time when nature truly dealt them its full force. Coming up on this special edition of Full Force Nature, a town in South Dakota is abandoned after an F4 tornado passes through. But first, swirling winds wind their way through a Kansas town, destroying homes and one man's most prized possession. You're watching a special tornado edition of Full Force Nature. When a supercell thunderstorm forms near the Kansas town of Mulvane, residents fear the worst.
Here's Mulvane, Dean. All right. Rapid rotation. Here it is, funnel cloud.
Soon, the swirling structure of a funnel cloud begins to take shape.
I cannot believe this happened.
Reed Timmer and his friends watch helplessly as the tornado threatens this small town.
And we could just see the whole storm was spinning, and we knew something huge was going to happen.
Wow, this structure is incredible.
Pretty much just looked like a spacecraft, a UFO.
Oh my God.
As the funnel begins to drop down on homes in a neighborhood, tornado sirens spring to life, alerting everyone for miles of the danger. For Reed and his friends, the more immediate concern comes from the enormous hail that begins to fall around them.
Whoa! Big time hailstorm! Go east! Go east! Go east, guys! Huge hail! Whoa! Did you see that?
This hail is probably softball size, maybe a little bit larger, so if a storm like that would hit your windshield, completely destroy your windshield.
Wow!
But before they move far, a sliver of white stretches to the ground.
Yo, we cannot move right now. No, we can't on the ground. Holy...
Within moments, it grows to a powerful and well-defined tornado.
Hold on. This is amazing. Whoa! Oh my God!
Fortunately, the tornado skirts just south of Mulvane, and no structures are hit.
The tornado looked really peaceful, actually. It was beautiful, it was white, had a rainbow in front of it, and it was really small. But actually, that can be deceiving sometimes.
My God, this is perfect.
But now, outside of town, luck begins to run out.
Well, oh, geez, this is not good. Very sad. Jeez, this is bad. What is happening?
it didn't look that dangerous, but then it hit a grove of trees and started lofting whole trees and hay bales, and it's not that often that you see a tornado of that intensity. And plus, it wasn't very dusty, you know, it's a really small tornado, so you can actually see the individual pieces of debris that are getting lofted, the individual trees.
Well, what are those things getting lofted? No, they're like little hay bales, that's what they were. Hay bales? Yeah.
We were really concerned for the houses in its path.
Whoa, there's a tree, there's a tree.
The winds begin to whip around with added fury. Then the tornado makes its most destructive move. The towering twister destroys a house. Debris explodes into the air.
Oh, not good, not good. Oh my God, not good. Oh, what is it doing? Oh, what is that? Destroying a house. That's a house, isn't it? Yeah.
We saw it strike the house in Mulvane, and it was a horrible sight. I mean, you just saw pieces of the house flying everywhere, and at that point you knew that this is an extremely violent tornado.
The tornado has hit the Landis family home head on, and all they can do is watch. Pieces of the home are cast off in all directions. Soon, the tornado begins to die out.
It's roping out. It's about to end. It's a video here.
Reed and his friends rush to the house to give any help they can. When they arrive, they are first witness to the awesome power of this tornado. Few walls are left standing, and bits of the home are still falling from the sky. In a nearby field, hundreds of feet from the house, are the mangled remains of a prized 1969 custom Mustang.
We went to the house, and you could see just, you know, a piece of the wall pretty much caved into the basement, and the whole house was destroyed. And the tornado's path was pretty small in width, but it was really intense. I mean, everything was destroyed in its path.
The two people at home when the tornado hit took shelter under the staircase in the basement and escaped with only minor injuries. In the end, the twister caused an estimated $500,000 in damage. It's a day the residents of Mulvane will not soon forget. When this special tornado edition of Full Force Nature returns, a massive F4 tornado tears a small town to shreds. Welcome back to a special tornado edition of Full Force Nature.
There it is. Yeah.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Oh my gosh. This is violent tornado, guys, on the ground.
Near the tiny town of Manchester, South Dakota, a massive tornado is being born.
Trust me.
In moments, the storm blows up into a half-mile wide monster with winds as high as 260 miles an hour. Manchester resident Mark Strickler watches this monster storm from his house just outside the town.
You could see up into the cone of it, and all of a sudden it just started tearing up the grass. The way it went, huge. It was like sitting behind us, B-52 taking off. It was just horrendous, the noise.
Mark watches in horror as the tornado begins to dismantle the town he knows so well. On the outside edge of the twister, he can see a house being torn to shreds.
The house was probably 1,000 to 1,500 feet in the air. It came around the outside of the tornado, and it just, one piece busted off, another piece, and then it just exploded.
What Mark can't see through the black heart of the storm is a real life and death drama. Mark's friend, Noel Toberman, is trying to get to the cellar of his home, where his wife Chris has already taken shelter. But Noel is nursing an injured knee and can't move fast enough.
It was on the third step, she said. She just reached up to help him, because he had a bad knee. And she just reached up to help him, and away he went.
Noel is swept away by the violent winds.
never found any part of this house bigger than a stick. It's gone.
Incredibly, Mark finds his friend.
Well, it had picked him up here. He was up against the tree out there. I'd say it's 200 to 300 feet.
Toberman is shaken, but very much alive.
Well, when I got to him, he was very dazed and confused. He said what happened, and I told him.
Almost unbelievably, there are no fatalities. But in a matter of a few seconds, this monster storm has wiped a South Dakota town off the face of the earth.
Just like walking on Mars, and I knew this place like the back of my hand. Whatever there was, it took it. It was all gone.
That's all for this special Twister edition. Tune in next time for even more amazing encounters with all types of weather on Full Force Nature. To be sure that you are prepared for the full force of nature, your local forecast is next, right here on the Weather Channel.